Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Cooking with a Coach. I'm Jerry Lowery, and we've got some really neat stuff for you today. We're going to make some old-fashioned, no-bake chocolate oatmeal cookies that a recipe that I've had forever and been doing it for many, many years, passed on from my mom, and it's been pretty much flawless. We'll talk about that as we go. Then we're going to make some baked beans made from a recipe from Miss Laura Ferris. And she's been solid at these beans at a lot of cookouts and church functions and things like that. And it's been exciting, and it's really a good recipe. We're going to throw that together. And then we're going to have Nathan Johnson, who's my guest host today. We're going to fry up some steaks on the grill here, the oven. And it's going to be a really neat thing. He's got a special recipe that it's almost he's been bragging about it. I'll just be honest with you. He's been bragging about how good it is. So we're about to put him to the test. And let me tell you a little bit about Nathan. He's former captain in the United States Air Force. He's a doctorate of business administration. He's a college professor at Western Carolina University. He loves to hike outdoors, very tech savvy, but he also loves to cook for his family. And that's something that Nathan, we've kind of just grown together, that we've tried this and that, and we like to experiment at times, and we do a lot of stuff, and sometimes it fails, sometimes it don't work, sometimes throw that ingredient out. So we're doing that, and we're going to look at his steaks today. But Nathan, welcome to Cooking with a Coach.
Thank you, Coach. I'm happy to be here, and we have had some spectacular victories and some spectacular failures in the kitchen.
That's exactly right. We'll be talking about them as we go. But we're going to get started real quick. We're going to cut this open. What we're going to do, we're going to reverse today. In order times you get things started like you might do the meat and your vegetables and things like that. We're going to reverse because we need to let these oatmeal cookies set a little bit, and then we'll look at the finished product. So we're going to do the cookies first.
Dessert comes first.
Dessert always comes first, and that's a good thing. So we're going to...
Nobody's going to complain about that.
We're going to crank this thing up, and we're going to get started. And the first thing we do is it's real simple. And I'm just going to... Well, I don't even need that really hot right now on there, do we? Just going to move that out of the way.
One of the keys here is you mix up some of these cool ingredients first.
That's right. You just do it early. And one interesting thing, I've been making these cookies a long time. Nathan likes to cook. So he comes over to my house a few years ago, and we even filmed me doing this, and I don't know if it made it to YouTube or not. I don't have a clue.
I watched it a lot of times.
But he's watched it a lot of times, and now even the naysayers, it's been almost flawless. And another thing I'll say, many people talk about don't make these cookies when it's raining. Don't make them when the moisture is this or that. We have made these when it's coming a monsoon outside, and the temperature, all times of the day, all times of the weather, all kinds of weather out there. And Nathan, it's been pretty much solid and worked.
One of the crazy steps while Coach starts making these.
2 cups of sugar right off the bat.
One of the crazy things about these cookies that Coach is going to show you is the big controversy with these no-bake cookies, or the big question mark, is usually how long do I boil that chocolate cocoa? And he's going to show you an easy way to do that so you don't have to worry about it.
That's exactly right. Now here we go. 2 big tablespoons of cocoa. Now listen, I'm not really worried about if you get too much or not enough. Whatever suits you a little bit. And then we do that. And one thing that we do that we try to make sure is we mix it all up. And you can see that. A lot of people just throw it in and try to do it. I've found, and this is just my preference and Nathan's as well, Nathan, we mix it up before we do that.
This is a key step right here. This is one of the key things. Get this cocoa and sugar well mixed so you get a good dispersion of that cocoa and sugar.
Next thing we do, and you can see us on there, I take 1 stick of butter and I chop it up in little slices. And a lot of people don't do that. And you'll see me chopping this up in just little slices. And the reason we do that, it helps when we start melting this and put it under the heat, it melts this up and it makes it a little easier. So I'm gonna go a little faster with this. But
you can do big chunks too. You just want to get it melting good and melty when you get it in there.
That's right. So that's a key step, and I just cut it up. It does not matter at all, but we just slice it up a little bit, and we're going to get this on the heat. Now, the next step we do, and here's another key ingredient that people need to understand. A lot of people, don't pour it in yet. A lot of people put this on, they use milk, just whole milk or something like that. I use a small can of the evaporated milk. So 2 cups of sugar, 2 big spoonfuls of the cocoa, and then evaporated milk. You can see the size of it. I think it's about 5 ounces of milk. And we use the evaporated milk. I think that's a big key part in this. And we're just going to pour that in and start mixing it up. And we mix that up real good. Before we do anything, I'm going to set this off to the side. We won't need that sugar anymore. And we're going to get this all good and mixed up. And you can see that we're going to get it all mixed up in the bowl. And you get it. You see the function up. Then I'm throwing this butter. We're just going to throw it in there, and we're going to get it on the stove eye right now. We're going to get this on the stove eye. We're going to crank this thing up pretty hot. We want to get this boiling. One thing that I like to use, that Nathan's got this big wooden spoon, but these type of
Rubber
utensils
spoon.
here, these rubber spoon types, it's got the flexible ends. It really helps you get the sides of all this stuff that's in there, and you can scrape it. Now, understand this, when you're making these cookies, you need to always, Nathan, should I just let it sit there and let it start boiling?
Absolutely not. You've
No.
got to constantly be stirring this. This is where the controversy comes in, is how long do I cook this for? Well, the great thing about the coach's method is you just put the stove on high. Just go all the way to high. I've done it on a glass top. I've done it on electric coil. I've done it on gas. Done it on all 3 ranges. Never done it on induction. We're going to find out today.
That's right.
But you put it on high and get this stuff boiling, and you want to constantly be stirring it as the chocolate and the butter is melting together. Otherwise, you'll scorch the bottom of it. So you got
That's
to
right.
be moving it around.
It'll burn quickly. You can do it on high and keep it moving. Keep it moving. It's kind of like our bodies. We need to keep it moving at times. My granny one time was out in the yard, 73 years old, picking up sticks, and I said, "Granny, why are you out there picking up sticks?" She said, "Because I can." Point being, she could go pick up sticks, so keep it moving, or you will burn it. And once you get this chocolate burnt and that sugary burnt taste, it goes all out through the cookies, and it just don't taste well. So we've just got to do it. You can see that the butter, I'm just trying to hold it up a little bit. You can see that it's trying to melt. Once that gets all melted in, then we're going to be able to start this boil. And once it starts boiling, we're going to let it boil for 1 minute. And right at it, and we'll just time it. And I usually time it right at 1 minute.
Got the timer ready.
Take it off the heat, and then that's what we do. And
So you don't want to start the thing you've got to watch for is those first bubbles. That's when you want to start your timer. As soon as it starts to boil,
that's right.
and let it go for that minute. And I usually get that timer ready as I'm getting this going.
I
Getting
do
it
too.
stirred in.
I use at home. I use the microwave oven right above the stove. I has got a timer on it, and I just as I'm stirring, I just punch it in, and then set the 1 minute timer. And then when I start seeing it boil a little bit, we rock on with it. I hit the timer and start it, and when it counts down, when it gets to about 10 seconds, a lot of times I'll just cut the eye off as I'm going because it's time to cut it off. And then after that, you'll see what's about to happen. We'll put the peanut butter in and things like that.
Yeah, I usually, before I get started making these, because once this thing starts rocking and boiling, you've got to stay on it. Once the boil starts, you're on a downhill run to being
That's right.
finished. So I like to make sure I've got a spoonful of my peanut butter ready, and I have the oatmeal already measured out and ready to pour in too. Because once this
Nathan,
goes,
stir that while I get some of this. And folks, another thing, get you some wax paper ready. I try to have everything ready before I even start. And that way, once you have this, and I'm just going to set this wax paper out here right now, and we'll pull it a little closer in a moment. We're just going to have it out and ready to go. And the reason for that is we're about to set these cookies, dip the hot mixture onto the sheet, and then it's easy to peel off and things like that. So that's what's about to happen. We probably will be getting close to seeing some of this boiling maybe action a little bit. Nathan, what do you think?
yeah, it's starting to move a little bit.
Once we get a little movement, and it's an interesting way to go.
This is always the part that's for me, this is the part where I always have to make that judgment call of when to start the timer, when you first start seeing those bubbles.
Right. We're seeing a little bit of the bubbles, not as much as I would like to see. But you could stop stirring for just a second and see if it's starting to really move, but don't wait that long.
Right now it looks like some mud pots in Yellowstone, not quite bubbling yet.
But we're about to get ready to do that. I also have off to the side 1 big scoop of peanut butter out of the can or bottle, whatever you got.
Here if you want to.
Yeah, and I've already got it ready. I mean, I've got it ready. You can see that the peanut butter is sitting here ready in a spoon. I like to have it right there ready because when we put it in, we're going to try to get all this melted up, and then we will continue on putting the oatmeal and things like that in. We're starting to see some bubbling. You can see that. So, Nathan, we can start that timer.
Let's start it up.
I'll look at that up there. So we got about a minute of this. And folks, listen, keep time of it. Don't guess at 2 minutes, 30 seconds. I literally have been doing this. I don't know how many batches I've made. People request these all the time now.
Made at least 100.
when we go places, people say, "Would you bring your cookies?" So a lot of times we do that, and we really count it down to 1 minute, and then we take it off the heat, which we're 30 seconds in right now. We take it off the heat, and then we're going to throw the peanut butter in it. We're going to throw just like a half a teaspoon of vanilla, and then we're going to put the oatmeal in it, and then we're going to lay it out on a sheet. Then we're going to let it set and cool, and that's what's happening. So Nathan, we're pretty close, about a minute in.
Yep.
And I'm
going to,
and I'm going to go ahead and just cut that off. There's no need for that, and I'm just going to set it off the heat. We're going to keep it sitting right there. Now the next step, I'm taking the peanut butter that I already had ready. Let me move this where the cameras get a better view of it. And I'm just going to, that right there. We're just going to put the peanut butter in there, and we're going to start stirring it. At this point, I'll use a metal spoon or something because you're about to have to dip it. And I just want to get this good. And you see, some people say it's being amphibian. I'm saying it's ambidextrous.
Here.
And I'm going to spin it around a little bit, and I'm just going to pour a little bit of vanilla. You can't really mess it up unless you put a whole bunch in, and we're going to stir it up. You can see that the peanut butter is already melting really nice, and that's what we want. And as that melts up, Nathan, any more tips? I mean, it's just a process that you're moving. Once you get it boiled up and get the peanut butter ready, then we're here.
You really are. Once the boil starts, you're in a downhill run, and you can't stop until you start scooping them out on the plate or out on the wax paper.
Nathan, you'll take this right here and continue that, and I'm just going to get the oatmeal out. And so here we're going to use. I start out with 2 cups of oatmeal. Now, listen, if you put too much oatmeal in it, you get looks like the store-bought that's really dry and not good. I don't think, and you can put too much of the oats. Now listen, use the minute oats, the quick oats.
That's right.
Don't use the ones that you have to cook for a long period of time.
And listen, ultimately, you're making this for your family, because my family.
Here's
my wife,
number 2.
She wants a little more oatmeal in there, and I always have to argue with her and say they're better with less. So,
also another interesting twist to this is if you put in crunchy peanut butter. We use creamy today, but you can use crunchy peanut butter and have a little peanuts in there a little bit. Now I have experimented with Nathan with some stuff before, and it was a flop. But I put toffee in and things like that just to change it up and make my own cookie type deal. But it's not really. If you want to put a few more oats, more than 2, it's your choice. I like it.
See how runny that is. I don't know if the camera can see that.
Yeah,
or not.
I like it a little. I like it a little runny, more than normal, and I'll tell you why. Because your cookies, they will either come out in chunks and look all globbitied up, if that's such a word that I'm allowed to use on TV, or they kind of, once you set them out and they kind of smooth out, and then they kind of give it a little glisten and they glow a little bit, and they look pretty good. So that's what's about to happen here. So Nathan, we'll pull this to it, and we're just gonna throw a few out here on
I have to tell you, Coach, I prefer the crunchy peanut butter.
Okay.
Because there's something about the extra peanuts in there too. It seems to give the cookie a little more structure as well. It helps it hold together a little bit better.
You can see these are pretty good size helpings of cookies, and
that's another good thing about these. If you got a lot of people, you can make small ones.
you can make little bitty ones. It just depends on how much you
yourself. You can make them as big as you like.
That's right. And so they will sit there, and we won't do this. I'll set these out.
I can tell you this though, with this batch in a room of 5 people, they'll be gone in about 10 minutes.
Yes, they're gone. People love them. Your kids will love them. And you see, I'm just kind of just dipping them out all over the place. But that's all right. We're going to continue to do that. Nathan, let's get this while I'm doing this. Let's get this hamburger going for these beans.
Great.
Let's crank that thing back up. Now, what we're going to do, we need to. I lost the hamburger meat. Here we go. We're going to grind this hamburger meat up and make these beans. I put 1 pound of hamburger in, and I'm going to kind of chop it up a little bit and get it where we can fry it up, and then we're going to make these beans once we get this going. Once we get this frying up, and you'll see, I'll give us where we can see that a little bit better.
Now the recipe that the coach is about to show you with these beans, this is what you call a fan favorite.
It is. These are really good. They're really good beans. They're from Laura Ferris in Sparta, Tennessee. She takes them to all the functions and things. As a matter of fact, it's highly requested anytime we have any kind of family cookout or whatever. I call her up.
Church dinners, weddings.
You name it. It's really.
If you need some baked beans for an event, you probably should try and track this woman
now,
down.
She like takes this recipe and doubles it, triples it, pound of hamburger meat. We'll talk about other stuff that's going in it once this gets cooked up. A can of pork and beans. You can use a big size. You can double it if you're wanting to feed 15 or 5 people or 15 people or 30 people. You just add to the recipe as you need, and it works every time. She usually ends up making a big old pan of it where the crock pot is overflowing, and it always feeds. It always does a good job feeding all the families or whoever's involved with the cookout or things like that. So it's really a good. It's really a good thing. We're going to continue to let this cook up, and once this gets good and brown, which we want it to, we want to brown this up good. Let's see that. Now I'll continue to dip while this is cooking. If you'll stir that hamburger meat.
It's going to get this going for you up here. So
yeah, we're going to. Well, it won't go until we put it on. But there we go. I'm just going to make some more of these cookies while it's here because they won't get hard in the in this oven. Nathan is continuing to cook the meat. I'm just making these cookies more. And once we get that in, there's some pretty good sized cookies right there now.
They're looking good. That green pepper doesn't know what to do.
No, we got the green pepper. We're fixing to put that on here in a second. Nothing like these cookies. They're well done. We're going to set that off to the side. And here we go. Now, get this stuff out of the way. Some of these things that we've already done.
We got a
all right.
holder. I'm going to start getting that cast iron skillet hot.
We got that going. Getting the cast. You got a thing to hold it with?
See if we got one we'll find.
Nathan's continuing to do that. There we go. I am chopping up, pull them cookies out of the way over there. I'm chopping up an onion, and I don't really like onions in my food. So here's a tip that we do. We just take it in chunks. And so what happens is, as you do that, these green peppers and the green peppers and the onions, if people don't like them, they just eat around them. They don't take them out of the pot when they're getting them. So that's how we do it. We just put a chunk of onion and a chunk of that in there, and then people can scoop around it, and that way it's not got it everywhere, and that's a plus that we do with these beans. You can make it however you want to. If you're because we got family members that don't like the onions, and so all right, we're about ready to get this thing cranked up. Then we're going to crank up this steak here. Now while this is cooking and it is pretty much browned up, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to pour these beans in it. I'm just going to pour the whole can, and we're going to get them in there. Nathan, we can mix them up.
Now, one thing I've got going over here, this cast iron skillet we're going to cook these steaks in. I usually get that outside on my grill. I've got a burner on the side of my grill for like a pot of corn or whatever you might want to use. I'll put that cast iron skillet out there. You can do these steaks in your house too, but it generates a lot of smoke, so I like to do it outside. You can also do it just in your grill. If you don't have one of those side things, you can stick your cast iron skillet right in the grill and get it hot. We're going to be doing that in just a minute.
On these beans, ketchup to taste. Not a whole lot. That's whatever your taste is. About a teaspoon of mustard. Not a whole lot of that. And then a tablespoon of chili powder. And so we're going to put that in there, and they're going to start cooking. We're going to have them going and cooking. And they already look great, Nathan. They look good and they smell good. If you were in the kitchen with us, you could smell that these really are good. And wow, they pretty much look amazing.
Those are ready for onion and
yeah,
pepper.
And
now.
we're going. And I'm just taking the chunk and I'm putting the onions and the pepper and just throwing it in there. That way, there's chunks are not all. A lot of people put onion powders and things like that.
But you can still get the flavor that way.
You still get the flavor, but you don't have to eat it if you don't want to. And that's what a lot of people like. That's what I like about Laura, because I don't like onions. However, when she makes these, she does it this way. All right, Nathan, you got the cover. We'll get your deal, and we're going to swap pans here. I'm going to take this one and put it over here and let it cook. He's going to take that one, and we're going to get this steak. Now, Nathan, tell us what we got going on here.
All right, I've got this skillet really hot. You can see it's starting to go. I'm just going to take some olive oil and get a little olive oil in there and get it.
Folks, you can see the smoke. This is hot. We're talking the real deal hot.
You want your skillet to be hot. Okay, now it's very simple. You get you a couple of pieces of steak, whatever your favorite is. I like sirloin. Sirloin filet works good, strip. 2 simple ingredients. Some kosher salt. Open that, and then some black pepper. We're going to get on here.
I don't know how to open
Give me
it.
a good amount here. That whole thing just it's a grinder there, I think.
Well,
we're having some technical difficulties.
technical
here. Here you
difficulties,
go.
baby.
And you can grind you some pepper. And then you just want to rub that into the meat a little bit.
Now, kosher salt and the pepper you can see right there.
Why don't you give me some so I don't have to get that nasty.
Right.
Now I'm going to flip it over here. Let the coach give me a little more. This is to your taste as well. My wife, she doesn't like as much pepper.
How much
but
salt?
The salt, just get it go on there. The salt you kind of have to experiment with as well. But I found that a little more salt, I don't like salty food, but a little more salt on these steaks goes a long way. You'd be surprised.
You see this is smoking up right now. If you were watching, you're seeing the smoke here. Hear that sizzle.
Hey, we're going to put those steaks in. Let them sit for just a minute. And while I'm getting that ready, while that sits, you need some minced garlic. We got 2 steaks. I usually use half a tablespoon, but I'm going to use a full tablespoon of minced garlic.
Minced garlic, and this is the wet kind. It's not the dehydrated kind. It's kind of the wet. You can buy that at most spice stores and things like that. So the wet minced garlic.
And then you just want a half a tablespoon of butter if you got 1 steak, but we got 2, so I'm going to go ahead and use a full tablespoon, maybe a little more butter. Get that in there. And then this is another thing, thyme, little thyme leaves. This is something I do to taste. Some people like this, some don't. I put a little thyme in there right on top of my garlic and butter.
Now you can get ground thyme, but we're using the leaf kind, thyme leaves.
Yep.
And you can see them there.
We'll just let that cook for about give me Got those tongs right there.
I'm moving.
Oh, let me give me that'll work right there. That'll be fine. Let these go for about a minute each.
Yeah, don't grab that, folks. It's hot. Make sure you use a. Nathan, we've experimented with numerous things, but the cast iron really works well.
You can see that's put a nice little black top on that. Once you get that in there, then you just take your spoon and put that minced garlic and butter right on top of it. And let that start cooking down, and that butter's gonna melt. And you kind of move that around a little bit on your steak, break it up. This is gonna make I call it a slurry. It's almost a slurry of seasoning here in this butter. Just kind of work that in, and that butter's gonna get in that pan and start melting. And you can see there's some juices starting to form up there in that pan.
Nathan, we're getting close to running out of time. While that's cooking up, I'm going to show you the end product of these beans. We mix them up here a little bit. We try to get everything in that shot. You'll see here, folks, we've got the baked beans, which really look delicious. We have the steak that is, Nathan, it's probably medium well at this point right now. It's pretty close to finish. It's still cooking in that. We're going to let it continue to cook just a moment. But listen, folks, Nathan, thank you for joining me today.
Yes, sir.
Cooking with a Coach, another episode. Stay tuned next week. We want to thank you for watching Ben Lomond TV. They do a lot of things for the community, a lot of services. This is Jerry Lowery with my co-host today, Nathan Johnson, Cooking with a Coach. Now, one final thing, the cookies. They're hard. They come out well. And some of the staff here is fixing to eat these. They're about to eat them. We've got the steak going on. The beans are ready. We've got dessert. We made a meal. We want to thank you today for watching Ben Lomond TV and Cooking with the Coach. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. God bless.